Welcome back to Fearless Empowered Women, the podcast where we have real conversations that equip women to live boldly, lead intentionally, and care for themselves without guilt.
Exactly. This season 2, episode 8, and today's conversation could not be more timely. Okay, as the year picks up pace, many women are feeling stretched emotionally, mentally, and physically.
Right. So today we're talking about therapy, faith, self-care, and how to create a mental health toolkit that actually supports you through hormonal shifts. We know about that, right? Life transitions and everyday stress.
Yes, and today we are joined by my friend, an incredible guest, Dr. Sarah Omodele, founder of Unlayered Health and Wellness. She's a nurse practitioner with over 20 years of experience, and she specializes in helping women navigate hormonal and metabolic changes so they can feel balanced, connected, and well.
Yes, so Dr. Sarah,
Nice.
welcome. We're happy to have you with us today. Welcome to Fearless Empowered Women. We're so glad to have you.
Yes.
We're happy you take time to be with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited
Yes.
to be here and there with other powerful women.
Thank you. So before we dive in, tell our listeners a bit about Unlayered Health, Health and Wellness, and the work that you do with women.
Sure. So a little bit about me. I know she gave quite a bit of an introduction. So nurse practitioner, nurse for over 20 years. My desire to focus on wellness really started from when I was working in cardiology for so many years. Patients were not getting better, even with all the interventions that we provided, medications and things like that. I just felt the need to do more. I just felt like God was leading me out of the hospital to do more, to get to my patient, reach my patients before they get to the hospital, and that's what kind of led to me getting my doctorate in lifestyle medicine, getting to understand also this is the problem, is the lifestyle, is the choices, is the mindset. Are we practicing sleeping well? Are we eating well? Are we managing our stress? All those things lead to behavioral changes that lead to us developing chronic illnesses. If you take, for example, somebody that becomes diabetic, is usually because of their lifestyle. Diabetic is reversible. It's not genetic. Just because your family has diabetes doesn't mean you're going to have it. It's the lifestyle, it's the habits. What are you eating? Are you exercising? What kind of food are you eating? So those are the things that kind of like was an aha moment for me. So tying it back to women and hormonal, I realized also with my own journey and my own self-discovery when I was kind of like in my late 30s, 38, 39, that was when that feeling started, wanted to do more. And also I got lost in, career, taking care of my kids, husband and things like that. I also was not healthy per se, and that led me to change my life and my practices, and then not knowing, or because in nursing school, they don't really talk a lot about hormonal changes when it comes to menopause or perimenopause. We just had one chapter, they mentioned it here and there, and that's it. So me going through little shifts in my own emotional and metabolic, and I realized that, wait a minute, this is the connection. You usually start with with your emotional. That's where it starts. You start feeling that, oh, there's something wrong, and then you're also going through that physical and metabolic and hormonal changes. So that's how everything tied together. And I realized that I'm going through the journey. I have the experience, I have the knowledge, and I can help other women. I also help men, but most of my patients are women because I relate to them. I empathize with them. We're working through the journey together. I connect with them. I know when they come to me and say, Sarah, something is not right. I'm always anxious. I'm always this. This is the reason why. So Unlayered started, the word unlayered is like unlayering, to connect to your true self, unlayering to get rid of what did not serve you before, just getting back to the root cause, on layering all the stress, the anxiety, the perfectionist behavior that we have, all those expectations, just being true to yourself and just connecting to be the best version of yourself. So that's the unlayering part. But there's a little of, not necessarily therapy, but coaching in my practice and my programs where I'm really helping, women kind of dig deep and figure out what's exactly going on, and also balancing and helping them in the medical perspective where I can prescribe medication, I can look at labs, I can diagnose using, just helping them in those two areas. So that is what Unlayered is, helping women, as you said, who are navigating through hormonal and metabolic changes, feel balanced, feel better, and feel connected to themselves, to their family, to their calling, to their purpose, just feeling connected, because we tend to feel disconnected and just all over the place when we get to a certain uh, phase, yeah.
So,
Okay.
that's really, that resonates deeply, especially for women who are high achieving and caregiving, faith-filled, and very exhausted. Sounds like most of us, actually.
The years progress, many women feel pressure to keep pushing goals, responsibilities, and expectations. From your perspective, why does emotional well-being often decline during this season?
I think it's because we've been taught to just go, 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 go as women, you know, get the degree, get married, take care of the children, take care of the husband. You're doing, doing, doing. And then you get to a point where you not realize that you're tired. You realize that there's something is off. You realize that you've lost yourself in the midst of it all. You realize that maybe it's the physical changes that you're noticing, gain weight. You've always been nice and slim, very active, and all of a sudden you look in the mirror, you're like, what happened? You can't fit into your favorite jeans, you don't look and feel attractive the way you used to. And then, you just feel like you're a little bit more edgy, more irritable, you find yourself questioning, like, how did I get here? So I think that usually happens you know, when everything, because over time, you can only do so much before you now start realizing that you've reached your breaking point. And that's where, with that midlife, when you're like 35 and above. Some people, it happens during that time, 35, 36, whatever. Some is a little bit later. Mine was like 38, 39, where you're just trying to find yourself again. So I
So
think it's
what patterns
just,
are you seeing in women's emotional health as the year gains momentum?
I think emotionally, in terms of their health, I think it declines if they don't do anything. There's a lot of depression, there's a lot of anxiety during that time. And this also could be hormonal, because when certain hormones fluctuate, when you lose your hormone, like for instance, progesterone is usually, you have receptors in your brain, is usually the calming hormone. The estrogen is, when that's up, that is what is preparing the production, the production of the eggs. Your eggs is being matured, your estrogen goes up, then your progesterone kind of calms down the estrogen. I say, okay, we're okay now. Let's have the ovulation period and all that. So when that progesterone goes down, women start having those kind of anxiety and that depression, and they're always on the edge. They can't sleep, they have mood swings, they have brain. So I think it's all the mixture. During that time, emotional health really suffers because we could do this on our own without doing all those, we're always driven, as you said, high achieving women, you work, 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 work. You had the bandwidth to do that. When you get to a certain age, when you get older, you don't have that anymore because of, age and because of your hormones. So those are the things that affect women. And then you're questioning and then you're confused. And then, so I think it suffers. But I would say it suffers if you're not aware of it. And if you don't seek help or seek therapy or seek medication or seek whatever strategies to help. it's gonna get worse.
Okay, so let's talk about therapy and faith. Some women feel conflicted, like seeking therapy means they lack faith. And I'm sure you come across this, often. How do you address that when people feel like it goes against their faith, seeking therapy?
I think it's a mixture of maybe going against their faith and also thinking that it also goes against their culture. Like if we're going to talk about Nigeria, because I'm Nigerian, so that is what I can relate to. You were taught as a Christian to have faith, to pray. If you're anxious or depressed, you need to put your faith in God. Everything is faith, faith, faith. And if you don't, you suffer from, the anxiety or depression or whatever, or you have issues with stress, they blame that you don't have enough faith or you're not praying enough, and that's not the case. Faith is, you need to have faith. Faith is good to support you, but also there are other strategies that faith is not enough. If you're stressed, if your schedule is busy, there's not amount of faith that's going to help you rearrange your schedule. You need to take off some things out of your schedule. If it's your children, they're stressing you, you have a lot of, nobody to pick up the kids. No, there's not amount of faith. I think it's not like the woman is lacking. There are different tools for different things. It doesn't mean that you don't have faith. It doesn't mean that it's a stigma. Just like health is a stigma. It's a stigma. I don't want people to say that I don't have faith. I'm praying enough. I'm not Christian enough. There's a place for that. But if you need help, you need to get the help.
Yeah.
If
Faith
you need
without works
medications,
is right. Yes.
exactly. They all work together because no matter how much you pray and fast, if you don't take action or if you don't do what you're supposed to do, faith can only go so far.
Right. That's powerful. So, what do you say to many of us as women that feel that rest is optional or even selfish? Like it's selfish when your family or people around you need you. It's selfish to rest. You have to just keep going, 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 going. What do you think? What do you say to that?
I think that thought of rest being selfish and, weakness, or you can't rest, you need to go, go, go. I think is one of those lies that we've been taught and have been programmed to over the years. You're supposed to go, go, go as a woman. But if you don't rest, how are you going to show up? How are you going to take care of your family? How are you going to take care of yourself? If you're not necessarily in terms, dying in terms of you're tired, how can you take care of your kids? How can you show up as a mom? How can you show up as a wife? How can you show up as whatever career that you're in? You need to rest. Rest is not it's important. That's how you rejuvenate. That's how your cells, rebuild. That's how you have the enough energy to do more. So if any woman is feeling that rest is being selfish, it's not. You rest, you recuperate because you love your family. Okay. If you really love them, you have to take care of yourself, because if you don't show up for them, then what's the point? You go, 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 you have a heart attack, you have diabetes, at the end of the day, if you're sick in bed because you're going, 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 the children or the family that you're quote unquote taking care of, now they're hurt because you're not there. Now they're taking care of you. Or if you die, then you leave that void. So at the end of the day, you have to understand that you taking care of yourself is you showing love to your family, because then you can show up better and show up more for them to support them.
Sure. So we're talking about creating a mental health toolkit. What does a mental health toolkit actually mean in practical terms?
So the tools that I usually recommend, for my patients, and also I use it myself, is, taking deep breaths. Okay. We are always going, going, going. We're always rushing. Oh, we got to clean the dishes. We got to do this. We got to do that. We're always hyper, hyper, hyper. Sometimes we just overstimulate. We need to calm down. Take deep breaths in and out. Relax. So that is one thing. Practicing deep breaths in and out, relaxation can help. Then when you have racing thoughts, like negative thoughts, because we can get through that cycle. Your thoughts leads to your feelings, and your feelings lead to the action, and the action, and the action leads to the result. If we realize that, okay, we're thinking, oh, I'm not good enough, then you start feeling bad because now you've thought that you're not good enough. And then you're feeling sad. And then the action is you just stay lay in doing anything. And then, at the end of the day, you have to go back and retrace your thoughts. You're not feeling good enough. Is that true? Where is that thought coming from? Challenge that thought, question it. What do you mean I'm not good enough? Look at all the things that I've done. I'm this, I'm this, I'm that. You have to remind yourself that.
So one of the things that we've always talked about is looking after yourself, right? Making sure you take time out for yourself. And I believe sleep is a huge part of that, making sure you get the right sleep in nutrition, making sure you have a balanced diet. Tell us little bit about how does sleep nutrition in metabolic health affect the mood and the mental clarity for women?
Right. So, as I said, sleep is very important. Rest is very important. So, if you're not sleeping and you're not resting well, because sleep during the time when you sleep is where your body is supposed to clear out bad cells, negative thoughts, and just your body resting and feeling better for the next day. If you're not sleeping well, when you wake up in the morning, you're going to be irritable. You're going to be upset. You're going to be moody. And then lack of sleep also affects you metabolically in terms of it increases your cortisol level. You gain weight around the waist because you're not sleeping. You're stressed also during the day. You're irritable during the day. That also leads to lack of mental clarity and mental fogness because you haven't really slept. So everything is just like a cascade of, you start from you're not sleeping well. Now you're irritable, you're edgy, you're anxious. Now, you're gaining all this weight because you're not sleeping well. Okay. Then you go through that carb craving, energy crash in the afternoon. And so it just like a really, really goes down the line of just bad metabolic health and then your hormones too. So sleep is important. So try and sleep at least 6 to 7, even more than 6. I would even say 6, 7 to 8 hours because women, we need a lot of sleep. Our brain is always functioning. We're very active people. We need a lot of sleep. And then you need to be able to manage your stress. Stress is important because if you're stressed, it's going to affect your sleep. And then if you're not sleeping well, as I said, it's going to affect your health. It's going to affect your weight. It's going to affect your metabolic health. Insulin resistant, that's how it's high blood pressure. That's how it starts. Oh, there's so many things. Managing your stress, managing your sleep, and eating healthy food. As we get older, what we used to eat when we were younger, we used to get away with a lot of stuff when you're in your 20s. You can eat whatever, junk food, snacks, and all that. But when you get into 30s and above, 40s and above, your metabolic health, the rate, everything is different. You can't lose weight as easy as before, once again, because of the hormonal changes, and you're not sleeping, you're stressed. So you have to understand that now you have to take more time, looking at what you're eating, exercising. That big bowl of rice that you used to eat before, you can't eat that anymore. That's going to spike your blood sugar. That's going to cause your diabetes and the whatever. You can eat those things. Don't get be more mindful in terms of portion size. And you can't just eat and then go sit down and just lay on the couch. It's going to stay in your stomach. You're not burning the calories. Carbs are for energy. You eat carbs at night, you're not burning any energy. So what's going to happen to the energy? It's going to be
You're not going to
stored into
burn it
fat.
properly, yeah.
You're not burning it. So it's better to eat carbs during the day where you know you're going to burn it as opposed to eating it at night where it's just going to sit in your... So there's so many strategies and things you have to rethink when you get to that age. There's so many things and it takes time and it takes awareness.
Thank you. I think one thing that stood out to me from what you said, and I feel like most people, because I wasn't really conscious of this until when I started my Pilates practice and yoga, that sometimes when I'm like tensed or worried, I stop breathing. I stop breathing. I don't breathe all the time. And I wasn't like conscious until when I started to, when you mentioned deep breathing, practicing focusing on your breathing and everything. It's very important because I don't know if I'm the only one that's, feel this, or I don't know if other people experience this as well. But I wasn't conscious that there are times during the day when I wasn't breathing at all because I was tensed or because I was worried or something. But I wasn't breathing until now I focus on my breathing
Deep
practices.
breath, deep breath, deep breaths, right? Yeah. Oxygen.
Mhm.
I know
Okay, so
in and
what
out.
encouragement would you give a woman? What encouragement would you give someone who feels completely depleted, but they're guilty and they don't want to rest?
Well, what I would tell them is, you know, I see them, I understand because I've worked in their shoes, and it's okay to take a break. It's okay to rest. You don't have to feel guilty. The guiltiness and the
Mm,
feeling is something that
mm,
it's something that you've learned subconsciously, maybe from your upbringing or some crazy expectations that we also put on ourselves for no reason. Family might have put it, or you just want to prove yourself. And you feel like, oh, if I rest, I'm slacking or I'm not. You have to get over that. You have to get over that. Those
mm,
expectations are not, they're not serving you anymore. They might have served you when you were younger, that might have helped you, get that PhD or get that $1 million deal or whatever when you're crushing it. But now you're getting older. They're not serving you anymore because if you continue with that
yeah,
attitude, you're gonna burn yourself
yeah,
down. So just
yeah.
relax, take a deep
So
breath.
women, we see you.
Yeah, yeah. You're not less than,
Yeah,
you
you're not
know.
alone. And we see you, like you said, and taking a rest, you shouldn't feel guilty about. It's something that's needed for your own health, for
Mhm.
your own mental health, for your own well-being, and for you to be able to go ahead and conquer the next day. So just take a break and you owe it to yourself.
Right. So, Dr. Sarah, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Hmm.
This conversation we know will bless a lot of our listeners and even us. Like, some of the things that you mentioned about watching what we put in our mouth. We're not as young as we used to be, and so we need to be more aware of, what we're putting into our body, and
Hmm.
that health is not only about popping medication. It's about like actually looking and modifying your life, the way you live, to make sure that you set yourself up for success. You don't like overwork yourself. You're taking adequate rest. So thank you very much for sharing your wisdom with us today. We
Thank you for
appreciate it.
having me.
If there's one truth and one thing you'd like our listeners to take away from this conversation, what would it be?
I think for
Okay.
women, I want to
Okay.
remind
Are you
them
there?
that are enough. You are enough. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not. You are enough. You're special. You're beautiful. You are enough. You were meant to be here. You have a purpose. So connect
Thank you.
with your passion, with your purpose. Know that you have everything. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
So there you have it, people. Be sure to connect with Dr. Sarah Omodele and Unlayered Health and Wellness for more resources on hormonal and metabolic health. We're going to put our details in the show notes. So please follow her on social media and reach out to her for more help and more tips about how to be the best of ourselves.
Yes. And as always, if you find this message resonates with you, share it with someone. Share it with someone who it could also help. Stay fierce, stay empowered, and take care. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.